Oh, hello. I'm just here catching up on some light reading. It's me, Scuff D, but you already knew that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Um, what I want to do is I want to start things off by reading a passage from the Horus Heresy Collected Visions. It's a wonderful read. You can find it in your local eBay or other out of print book places. It took me forever to find. I highly recommend it if you enjoy the artwork that the game holds, as well as some original classic GW artwork. Um, and I want to read a passage to you today. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I know why you're here. You're here for the previews. I'd be here for the previews too. I'm pretty stoked. I'm stoked to be able to share them. I'm stoked to be able to partake in the community and the game as a whole. So, well, I mean, I guess let's get to it. So we're first starting off with a 3-cost card here, Prospering Lore. It's 3 energy, and for 3 energy, you are giving yourself 3 Psyker energy. In addition to that, you're drawing a card, which actually tends to be more useful from what we've seen so far. You're going to need to be able to draw cards to replace the additional cards that you're spending with your Psyker energy. We've already seen this revealed in one of the other preview troops for 1 Psyker drawing a card. I think we need to see this effect in a few more cards as well, for the simple fact that you do not want to be emptying your hand of your cards too quickly. Otherwise you leave yourself vulnerable to succumbing to the flesh change, and vulnerable to being picked apart by your opponent. So this isn't a bad trade-off. And actually, especially if you are building up for something specific here, it's a great way to turn your energy into Psyker energy and give you what you need for that push to be able to use whatever Psyker tactic or Psyker ability it is that you're looking to use. For instance, right here on turn 3, you could conceivably have at least 5 energy with Ahriman to use his ability and give precognition to 2 units. So that's not a bad thing to have, and that's just with Airmen. That's with no other card effects or no other Psyker energy generated on table. So something definitely to consider. Not a bad card. It's a common. How well will it be used? Will it be used in every deck? That remains to be seen. But that is the first of the previews that we've got here at the common 3-cost level. So next we'll go up to the 4-cost level. So here we are, Ayu Amun Rhino. Ayu Amun Rhino. It's a 4-cost, 4 for 4, frontline vehicle. I actually like the artwork here. This is kind of a throwback to the old school Heresy pattern, or crusade pattern rhino, I believe is what it's called here, with the 2 bolters up top there and the pipes on the sides. Some good stuff. But you've got a 4/4 front line. It's a vehicle and it's a front line, so it's susceptible to crack grenade. It's susceptible to breach. However, 4 attack on a front line is nothing to scoff at. That's going to hurt if the warlord has to go at it. It's going to hurt if they've got to use a unit to take it down. It's basically could be an even exchange. In addition to that, the ability, it's very similar to the Space Wolf Rhino that we've seen, except instead of paying an energy, you're paying a Psyker ability, or Psyker energy rather, to draw an Astartes from your deck. This might actually not be a bad thing if initially you throw down the Ayu Amun Rhino, for instance, with Ahriman, and you put precognition on it, so your opponent is not going to be able to attack it. If they've got a tactic, you might have to kiss your vehicle goodbye. However, if it survives that first turn, you could then leave it as a front line on your following turn, use its ability, gain an Astartes, and then go from there. It's very interesting, these pieces of the puzzle that we're seeing. Each new piece adds some additional potential as they work together with the Psyker energy. And we are only seeing fractions of the puzzle right now. I actually do like this. I like any Legion frontline, generally. They tend to be a little bit more sticky, and they tend to benefit just a few more ways, synergize wise in regards to the rest of the Legion and with certain warlords. So I do like this, even though it's a 4 for 4, 4 health. It's not a bad exchange. I would take this over the Mechanicum for energy front lines, just for that extra attack and for the fact that it gives me the potential to draw Astartes from my deck should it survive. So I like this. Not a bad card, and it's a rare. It's a rare. So we are into the rare category here. We're going to look at another rare. All right, so here is Madaya. I believe I'm saying that correctly, and if I'm not, I apologize. Madaya, Castellix Achian Battle Automata. Man, that is a mouthful. So, what are they? They're 6 energy. They're 5/8. 5/8 health. That's nothing to scoff at the 6 energy level. That actually puts them one energy higher than the Death Guard frontline. I forget the name off the top of my head right now. But they can attack, and that could be a drawback. However, there's some very interesting interaction that we've got here with this ability specifically. For 2 energy, you pay, this gains +1/+0, so it becomes a 6/8 and attacks automatically. Now, the way this works, through clarification with Everguild, is that it acts like an automatic attack, similar to the Kabbat machine, or the old Iron Circle cards, or any cards that attack automatically by themselves. So you pay 2 energy, and even though this has can attack, it can attack. Now, that actually works out a couple other ways. Number one, if it has Bloodthirst somehow, you are able to bestow Bloodthirst upon this Astartes, you can use this ability twice. You'd have to pay 2 energy and then 2 energy. However, it would go up from a 6/8 attack automatically to a 7/8 attack automatically. So that's something that's intriguing there. But what's also very intriguing is, should your opponent have Nostromo, or should they try to lock it down with the Kaldrak Reaper, or Reaper of Kaldrak rather, from the Night Lords, using its ability will circumvent that can attack application. It already has can attack on it. This has been confirmed. This is, I asked for clarification on that. So even if it has can attack applied to it, its ability lets it attack even with that effect, which is kind of interesting. And that 8 health potentially lets them last longer. If you throw down precognition on this, your opponent has to throw bodies at it. They can't just throw a tactic at it. And that means that on your next turn, you could pump it up and do some damage. However, the wild card is, where is that attack going to go? You're relying on the AI there. This is basically a Psyker-powered golem, for better lack of terms. So that is the 6 cost.
So now that we've seen 3 new cards, I figured it'd be quick and important to take a look at the cards that have come before. There's 9 other cards that have been previewed, and I believe we'll have 2 more members in the community spoiling cards, so we've got at least another 6 more spoilers to come through this week. So let's take a look at what else we've already seen, and then let's put the pieces together and kind of come up with some thought and some perspective in terms of how the card pool works. So now we've got 12 cards revealed out of 40 for the faction, and we haven't seen a legendary yet. We've seen a lot of cards with Psyker as a keyword. We've only seen 1 card that provides the precognition keyword. However, that is a keyword now. So something tells me we're likely to see that applied, or have more application either within the Thousand Suns, which makes sense, or in future cards to come. It's not often that they prescribe a keyword to just everything. Jukebox still doesn't have one. But one thing that's interesting, I kind of mentioned it in regards to the card drawing effect. It's very important to note if you've got double the energy pool, essentially, you've got regular energy and you've got your psyker energy, you could burn through your hand too quickly. So it's important to keep in mind cards that have got card draw card basically added to them, whether that is in such the case as Prosper in lore, or we see that in other cards that we want to include, such as Leticio Divinatus, which is always a good way to get cards in your hand. Void Engagement is another great way to draw cards and continue that at the cost of energy as opposed to depleting your Psyker energy. Drawing too quickly for little effect is going to deck you out, and then you also take damage that way. Very rare, but it is something to consider. We haven't seen a quarter of the cards yet. Well, actually, no, I guess we've seen 25% specifically, or close to 25%, but without seeing the legendaries and only seeing two epics, one of them being a warlord. There's a lot to wonder about. There's a lot to wonder specifically in regards to how do the other two warlords that are going to start out function. How is Magnus going to function, and who will be the rare level warlord? It's also interesting to know, and I find it very intriguing, that the Thousand Suns, so far from what we've seen, have got 3 frontline cards, or the ability to generate 3 frontline cards, which actually puts them on the higher end compared to other legions. Death Guard far outweigh that currently with what they've got the potential for, and then you've got the Iron Warriors, and then I mean this puts them on par from what we've seen with the Salamanders, and the Salamanders are a relatively hardy chapter. So will they play similar to that or not? Will we continue to see some additional frontline or frontline like abilities that couple with the other factors that they could pull in, whether that's through psyker abilities such as applying precognition or possibly applying lockdown to your opponent's board? That's another thought I've got. I think a heavy frontline Thousand Sun deck that builds up its psyker energy pool to unleash something big seems like the way things are going. I hate to speculate because in a week we'll know exactly what it is. But the big question is, what are we building up for? Is that psycho energy? Are we going to see 8, 10 cost psycho energy cards that are just devastating effects? I have to believe that we will. And I also have to believe that it's not too difficult to put those into motion, just even by gradually building it up via your warlord and other troops you put into play and holding off on playing psyker cards until you absolutely have to. So a lot of potential. We still have a lot yet to see, and I'm looking forward to what the other previews bring. If you haven't already, if you're not already part of the community or you're a fringe member of the community that's on Discord or follows the game on Facebook, I'd really recommend into diving out, checking out some of the preferred channels that I've got listed here on my page. Check out Discord. There's a wealth of players who are consistently posting opinions, information, and just decks and advice in general. And it's a great way to touch base. I think we've got a good community, and it's important to grow and continue to foster a positive community in order for a game that's a digital format to thrive and survive. So take that into consideration. And if you've got friends that you know or players that you know who only casually play the game, I'd also recommend suggesting it to them too. You don't have to dive into it full tilt, but it sometimes just having that resource for a player makes it a little bit more accessible, makes their interest a little bit better, gives them some options in terms of how do they play rather than just casual, or it's just something I play when I'm, waiting to take my break at work or whatever the case it is. Maybe it gives them a little more inspiration to go home, play a little bit more games, or crank out more than just 1 or 2 decks of a faction that they like. But that's just some thoughts. And we're all past the previews here. I hope you're digesting some of them. In your head, I think you're probably thinking about some possibilities, and I think the possibilities right now are open. We don't know what else the future will bring yet, which is kind of ironic, don't you think? So, with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for paying attention here. If you haven't already, Subscribe, please do so, or pass the word along. I really hope this is the first of many opportunities for me to spoil cards for the game. Anything else that I can do. I really enjoy the game. I enjoy the IP, the label, the Horus Heresy, the series as a whole. But the game is just really just something I cannot say enough positive things about. So with that being said, how about that passage? I should have saved this, bookmarked it. Let me get to it here. Here we go. Sorcery of the Thousand Suns. Magnus had been united with his Thousand Sons, the Space Marine Legion, who bore his genes. The Legion adopted Prospero as its new homeworld, and many of Magnus's followers on the planet were recruited into the ranks. Despite the Emperor's warning, the Primarch was obsessed with the warp and the study of sorcery. The Legion of the Thousand Sons had been plagued with psychic mutancies in the years leading to the unification with Magnus. When they did meet, Magnus was able to offer a solution to them. He secretly taught them the ways of the sorcerers of Prospero, to embrace their psychic talents as a gift rather than suffer them as a curse. The Thousand Sons had become a secret cabal of warlocks. The Thousand Sons fought bravely during the Great Crusade, and few could doubt their achievements. However, some of the other Primarchs could never bring themselves to fully trust Magnus and his Thousand Sons. Leman Russ regarded Magnus as sly and devious. Mortarion openly accused the Cyclops of dabbling in sorcery, and Corax twice refused to field his Raven Guard Legion alongside the Thousand Sons. Now, there's many more where that came from, but my time here is short. Again, I thank you for tuning in, and we shall meet either on the battlefield or in the future. Well, that's kind of prophetic. All right. Keep playing Legions. Bye.